Last week we released in our blog a texture set that included a number of textures for creating 3D environments like this one that look like they're made out of arts and crafts materials. And now this week we're expanding that pack by releasing an animated character that you can see here. You can download this new animated character from our blog. And now the remainder of this video is dedicated to just showing what's in the new pack and what you can do with it. When you open the pack, you'll see that we've also included a Unity game project in there, just as an example to show you what you can do with the texture. Of course, you can use this texture in any game engine or 3D environment, but we just picked Unity because there's a free version and it's good to show a little bit of a demonstration. So I'm going to play the Unity project that's included in the pack, and you can see as I hit the left-right arrow keys, the character animates and walks. And also notice this little flipping animation, which creates the impression that she's made out of paper. I'll just pause that, and we can take a look at the script here, the walker script, which controls that. And you see the script has been divided into 3 regions here. The translation, which moves the character, the cartoon animation, which flips between the 6 different cartoon frames, and the flipping effect. And if you want to study how this whole effect is put together, you can actually comment out each part of the script. I'm going to comment out all 3 parts right here. And then you can uncomment out one at a time and you can just see the effect it has. For example, if I have only the translation part uncommented, now you can see what the animation looks like with just the translation. Now I'll comment that in. And I'll activate the cartoon animation part of the script. And now when I hit the arrow keys, you just see different frames of the animation being flipped around. And if you look at the texture, you see how it includes all 6 frames. The texture is scaled in such a way that only 1/6 of the texture is actually displayed on the polygon, and the script just slides the texture around in a jerky movement in order to show the desired frame on the polygon at various times. And then finally you can check out the last part, which just flips the figure. Here I'm in the arrow keys, and you can just see the effect of that part of the script. So I'm not going to go over the script line by line, but by commenting out different parts, I think you can get an idea for how it works. Okay, and that raging noise you hear in the background is a beautiful San Francisco raging thunderstorm, but I guess that'll give you the authentic experience, and the show must go on here. So I just wanted to comment on the geometry that the texture is placed on. Obviously it's just a flat polygon. Oh, the thunderstorm stopped just about as quickly as it started. Now if you created a plane using the built-in plane in Unity 3D, it has just hundreds of polygons in it, so that's very inefficient. And also the other problem is if you rotate a plane, it becomes invisible when you look at it backwards. Because of the backface calling, that's just an optimization, that it doesn't render any polygons that are facing the opposite way. But of course, as you know in this example, the character flips right and left, and backface calling would wreck that effect, because whenever the character flips, it would become invisible. So there are 2 ways to fix that. One is you could actually go into the shader code and modify the shader to render the opposite size of polygons. Instead, what we did here was, in a modeling application, to create a simple model, if you look at it very closely, that actually contains two planes next to each other, and those yellow lines are the surface normals, so each plane is facing outwards and there's just a very tiny space in between them. And that's the geometry that was imported into Unity and the texture was placed on. Up there, the storm starts again. And that was the geometry that was placed onto, that the texture was placed on in Unity, and that's why when the texture flips, you can see the texture on the rear side of the plane. So I just wanted to point out that there are those two methods for kind of working around the whole backface culling issue, either using geometry with two-sided planes or actually editing the shader. And finally, I just wanted to say a little bit about how the texture itself was created. It was created in Genetica. If you don't have Genetica, you can download it at this URL. And when you open the pack, you'll see that the rendered texture in PNG format, but you'll also see the rendered texture as a GTX file, and that file can be opened in Genetica, and then you can actually edit the texture and render out different variations of it, or at different sizes, or whatever you want. And when you open the GTX file in Genetica, the first thing you'll see is that it's made out of two nodes. The first node creates the paper that the girl is made out of. If you look at this close-up, you can see how it looks like she's been drawn and watercolored onto lined paper. And here's where those lines come from. And if you want to change the paper that the girl is created out of, go to Presets, then scroll down to Paper, and drag different paper materials over that node, and then she'll automatically be created out of different types of paper. Or if you have a photograph of paper that you want to use, you can go to Basic Nodes, Generate, drag an imported image node over there, and then select the photograph of paper that you want to use. Now if you want to change the girl herself, you can click this edit button here to edit this other node. And now you can see how all 6 frames of the animation are down there. I'm just going to shrink the window. It's kind of neat to look here as you click on the frames. You can kind of see her walking. So there are all 6 frames of the animation. Each one uses that paper. And then they're all combined into a single texture down here. And you can just double click any of these frames if you want to edit it. And then there are a lot of different types of edits you can do. For example, if you want to change the posture a bit, I could select the transform tool. I'm going to drag over a few objects there to select them. Actually, I'm going to shift click out the hand. I didn't want to select that. And then you can rotate different parts to change the posture. Or you could click the edit tool here and actually change any of the shapes that you wanted to change a little bit there. And if you want to change any of the materials, you can click Style, Edit Material there, Edit Style. And then you can change the style. You see that her pants are actually constructed from a shadow, which gives it a little bit of depth. It's been gone around 3 times with ink. And it's also been filled in with a little bit of watercolor. So if I want to change the color of the watercolor, I just select that layer that I want to change, and I can edit the color here a little bit. And you can see how easy it is to just change the styles that are applied to the various shapes. So if I go back to the Nodes tab, you have a choice in how you render a texture. You can either select one of the individual frames and just render branch, and it will select just that one frame of the animation. Or you can click render texture, and that will render the entire final result of the texture. And here I'll just show you the difference. If you render texture, you'll get all 6 frames. Or if you render an individual part of the texture with the render branch, you'll just get that one frame of the animation. And then you can click export image here. And when you export it, just make sure that you export it as a PNG file, because you want a format that will include the transparency of the image. Okay, and that concludes this overview of what's included in the Walking Paper Girl texture pack. I hope you find it useful.